Energy, the official energy drink partner of USC. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet. Monster Energy, unleash the beast. And our Women's Spotlight brought to you by Sprouts Farmers Market, open 7 days a week. Visit your neighborhood Sprouts for good-for-you groceries and great prices on the freshest produce. Putting women's soccer, USC women's soccer, in that spotlight. They beat Wisconsin 3-1 in the Sweet 16. They advance to the NCAA quarterfinals, the Elite Eight coming up on Friday in Carson at Dignity Health. That'll be a 2 o'clock start against Wake Forest. Number 1 seed USC, number 2 seed Wake Forest. So that is a huge opportunity for USC women's soccer to advance to the Final Four. We've got our football roundtable here. No Keely Yor. She's got that flu bug that's been going around, but me, Sean, and Cody are here with you guys. And listen, man, ugly wins are better than pretty losses any day of the week. And, ultimately, it may not have been the most aesthetically pleasing game, and there were missed opportunities to separate. But I think when it comes to rivalry games, you just take that dub and be very happy.
Yeah, sometimes the game of football is ugly, and you're going to have some of those, tough games where you just can't put it together, like on the goal line for the Trojans. The first one was, just bad, bad luck. You have a guy, you run the tight end over the middle, it's wide open, and then you get the ref, and then you just have some miscues right there. If there's one thing I think I would pick apart, I'd like some, I think as a defense, Cody, you always worry about those little pick plays on the goal line.
Yeah.
You always worry about some of those things. If you maybe have a gripe, maybe I'd like to see one of those mixed in there. But, you have your big wide receivers. You're going to challenge them up top. You want to go up top. You hope to win, a couple of those. You don't get any wins, and that's kind of when it breaks down. You knock the field goals through, and it was ugly. But, hey, you got enough points to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Sean said, kind of talking about that red zone area, and we got to hear Lincoln talk about it a little bit. I get it, right? Not abandoning the run, but when you run the football on first down on all 3 plays and you go for a combined of -2 yards, you feel that sense of urgency of, okay, now we have to score. Let's start throwing it. Now I'm with Sean. I like the crossers on that. I like maybe using Jaden a little bit in the run game. Let Woody lead block, right? So add an extra blocker, let him run, or hook the defensive end and get him out on the edge, right? You give him a run pass option, get outside. But overall, we had no issues moving the football in the first half. We were going up and down the field. We were backed up a couple times, went 90-plus yards on some of those drives. We just got to find a way to finish. But the biggest thing for me is we won an away game, right? I know it's not quite an away game. We found a way to win, and the biggest part of that was, and there were a couple fumbles. We've got to be better there, but we didn't have any turnovers, right? We didn't have any takeaways, but we also didn't have any turnovers. And in those close games, you've got to be able to protect the football and find a way to win.
And this is why you don't necessarily want to overreact week to week. I'm fine if we talk about themes throughout the course of the season. USC's been a pretty solid red zone team this season.
100%.
So all of a sudden go, they're terrible at the red zone and the red zone play calling and all that. It was a tough night. There's no doubt about it, and almost cost them the game because they didn't put it away in the first half. But they're top 40 nationally in touchdown percentage and red zone scores. They've been all right. That's not been a huge issue for the team this season.
And it looked like Sean said, if we hit that touchdown to Lake McCree, we're not talking about this, and who knows, maybe the next 2 drives, but we're up, 17 instead of just kicking a couple field goals or doing something like that going in the half. So there were plays to be made. We just weren't hitting them.
Yep.
We've got to go out there and execute as well.
I did want to talk to you guys about a bigger picture thing that I'm noticing sort of on the positive late in the season. Cody, I'll start with you. We haven't talked much about the offensive line since the Michigan game. The Michigan game was a disaster, although I will say I saw a mock draft the other day, and Michigan has 3 guys in the top 15 from that defense. So as bad as their season has been, those were some studs they were going against. They got exposed. USC still almost won that game, but up front, they got worked pretty hard that day. They have gotten better and better as the season's gone on, and really some of these guys have really become a strength towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and 2 of those guys on that Michigan team are defensive linemen, right?
Yeah.
2 very good players. So that was a tough challenge. That's on the road. That's in the big house. So you can't just judge one game for an entire season, right? You've got to allow this group to get better. But I think the biggest thing for me is building that continuity, building that consistency. We really didn't know who was going to be the starting 5 going into the year. Then we have Alani Noah rotate a little bit. Then we have Elijah Page come out a game and bring Tobias Raymond in. There just wasn't that, continuity yet, that comfortability level with, and Sean knows as a defensive lineman as well, when you have a center guard tackle on each side that are working well together, that communicate well, it makes it even more difficult as a defensive lineman to make a play, and we're starting to see that. But I think the biggest thing is the run game. Once we started getting the run game going, you build so much more confidence.
It's been consistent. And they have run on everybody all year. The
Penn
Penn
State,
States of the
yeah,
world, I
true.
mean, really have run, no one's been able to really shut down Woody Marks.
It's a lot easier for an offensive lineman to go downhill and take the hit to a defensive lineman than have to backpedal and block an Abdul Carter or block some of these defensive ends. So I think the biggest difference maker was getting the run game going and building that confidence.
Yeah, and some big shoes to fill, after this. Obviously, you got 3 guys coming back on that front, hopefully, and then you look at Emmanuel Pregnon and Jonah Monheim. It's going to be some big shoes to fill.
That's the hard part, is now you go from like, oh, the offensive line's a weakness to like, man, there's a couple guys that can be hard to replace.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be you can find those guys, but you get some guys there, some young guys that have now been in the battle for a little bit. They're battle tested. They've been through a whole year together, so you hope that group can kind of stay intact, and then you add a couple pieces, and you hope you can get it going.
Yeah,
next year.
Page becomes a guy, starting with that anchor at left tackle is a great place to start with offensive line, and he seems to be, an example of a guy that's getting better and better week after week. And the other side I want to talk to you about is the defensive line. Again, something that has, pretty clearly, particularly with the pass rush, been a weakness, throughout this season. But getting better, I think maybe a step behind where the offensive line is at, because they're really relying on youth. But that youth starting to pop a little bit, not necessarily always in the sacks, because everyone's talking about Cam Fountain. And then I looked at his stats, and he didn't necessarily get the stats this week. But there were a lot more pressures and hurries, and the quarterback off his spot. And the game ended, with Garber's, throwing wildly on 4th down. So there's no sack there, no hero to point to. But it was plays like that where he was never comfortable all day.
And it's looked different all year, right? You start the year and you got guys like Anthony Lucas out there. You got Bear Alexander out there who's not there no more. So it started with Nate Clifton and Gavin in there, and now it's kind of like now you see the young guys coming in, the young who they trust now, and you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Henderson for developing these guys throughout the season and figuring out their strength and how to use them. But you see Braylon Shelby got a sack, and Nate Clifton had a sack, and guys were getting pressure. Gavin was back there again. That's like, so they just keep getting better, and the youth movement. I think Cam Fountain, even when guys are talking about on your team, those young guys are getting better, and they trust them to be out there. Took a ton of snaps, so and you got to just tip your cap to Coach Henderson in the development of a young group.
Notre Dame, toughest team we played this year?
This defense is good. I watched some film on them yesterday. I did a full breakdown, and you talk about the Northern Illinois game as okay. They're beatable. They are, sure, but they have been playing some great football. That is now an outlier, in my opinion. That football game. Al Golden is one of the best defensive coordinators. He has that pro style defense to where you're going to see multiple looks up front throughout the entire game. They're going to go 4 down, 3 down. They're going to get in bear looks, go 5 down to where they get one-on-ones all across the board. They have a very sound football team on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not worried. I'm excited for the challenge, but this is up there with Penn State, with Michigan a little bit in those defenses, and they've got some very good players on that side of the football.
Yeah, I was thinking that there might be they hadn't really played anybody case, and then I looked at their schedule, and they won at A&M to start the season. They have a win over Louisville.
Only 2 road games though this year, Jordan.
Yeah,
they have neutral site and all home games. They only have 2 road games so far this year. The last one was Purdue in week 3, so it'll be interesting.
I don't think they're unbeatable though.
Bring them to the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on in, Notre Dame. Welcome to the Coliseum.
Is very mobile.
Yeah,
he loves to run. 13 rushing touchdowns.
Second
for
leading
Riley
rusher on the
this
team.
Year, so certainly something to watch. All right, we got one more segment to come. Trojans Live. One final segment of Trojans Live on a Monday of Thanksgiving week. Happy incoming Thanksgiving, everybody. Work week here at USC. USC Notre Dame coming up on Saturday at 12:30 kick. We'll go on at 10:30. A couple of basketball games coming up. Women's basketball plays on Wednesday and Friday right here in the USC Trojans Media Network. Men's basketball plays on Thursday and Friday. So we'll both be in Palm Desert for all of those games. So lots happening around USC. And as I mentioned, women's soccer at 2 o'clock on Friday and their big NCAA quarterfinals. So a busy time of year for sure. The over-under is presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. I didn't do an over-under this week, guys. I did a little trivia for you. Are you ready?
Ready.
Who leads USC in receptions?
Woody Marks. Oh.
Sean?
Going into UCLA is Woody Marks. I'm sticking with Woody Marks.
Makai Lemon?
Woody Marks.
Okay. Yeah.
1 point for Cody.
Let's go.
Who leads USC in touchdown catches?
It's a tie between Jacoby Lane and Deuce Robinson.
It is not.
No.
Sean?
No, Jacoby Lane, because he had one. It's Jacoby Lane.
I'll say Jacoby Lane.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're that guy. This is why I can't do trivia on social media anymore, because one person answers it right in the comments, and then everyone's like, oh, yeah, exactly. I knew that one the whole time.
It was tied 5-5 going into the game, but now Jacoby takes the lead.
Who leads USC in tackles for loss? Sean? Quick answers, please. Dead air. Dead air.
What do we got? Easton Mascarenas Arnold.
Cody?
I don't know this one actually. I think Easton's probably the obvious answer, or is it still Eric? It better not be Eric Gentry. Still, is it?
Still Eric
Is
Gentry.
it still Eric Gentry?
Who leads
Hey,
USC
shout
in
out EG.
sacks?
That's got to be. I think that's Easton Mascarenas Arnold.
Sean?
Gavin Meyer.
Easton Mascarenas Arnold. Just keep cheating off Cody's papers,
This
Sean.
is way better.
Yeah, those are my 4 trivia questions. I thought all of them sort of showed.
You know what I miss? Over under.
Why you don't know the answers?
I
to those
watch
ones
Jordan. I
either.
watch way too much film and do way too much prep. That was.
But I honestly found all 4 of those fascinating because I think they sort of show a little bit where the team's at. That looking for some stars to emerge going forward in some of those areas. You know, you want a guy up there with like 10 sacks,
Big
You have a guy with
plays. A
3,
big play. Big plays on
or
defense.
a number 1 receiver. We've had a number 1 running back this year, that's for sure, in Woody Marks. He's 3rd in the Big Ten in rushing. He's averaging exactly 100 yards per game, 1,100 yards rushing in 11 games. Pretty impressive. But sort of the next step is to have some guys emerge at these other spots and have
that exactly who is
your
leading in
tentpole
those.
guys.
Yeah. This is guys leading in sacks. This guy's leading in receiving. And to answer a question from Cody earlier,
I was literally
gravy is the answer for
Gravy is your
Gravy?
favorite?
You never eat gravy the rest of the year. You eat gravy on one day of the year.
That's your
it's got to have its day.
side.
We have to go. That's how I feel about stuffing. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone involved in Trojans Live. Appreciate y'all listening. Fight on.